Before we get into this video, I wanted to let you guys know that it's actually sponsored by CuriosityStream. CuriosityStream is an amazing online documentary subscription service that is Streamy Award nominated. They've got thousands of titles that are all about expanding our understanding of the world, from art to history to science. There's always something for you on CuriosityStream. Right now, for Women's History Month, they have a series called Women Who Made History, which is a really cool series that goes over several women who made history. And CuriosityStream also comes bundled with Nebula, which is another subscription service that empowers independent creators like myself to create the content that they can't quite post on YouTube. Now, if you're curious about CuriosityStream, they were nice enough to give my followers a discount. And if you go to curiositystream.com/katblaque and put in the code katblaque, you'll get 26% off of an annual membership. Anyway, back to our regularly scheduled programming. Hey guys, it's Kat and I am back with another reaction video. And before I get into this video, I wanted to thank you guys so much for loving what I'm making on this channel. You guys make me smile so much. I love my followers. You guys leave such amazing, thoughtful comments, and I am so flattered to be a person who has such an amazing audience. So thank you for joining. Demi Lovato made a very interesting post on social media about gender reveals, and I thought that I would give you guys my reaction to it because I got tagged a couple of times by people who were curious what my thoughts would be. I do not know too much about Demi Lovato. I think she's bisexual. Hey Google, what is Demi Lovato's sexuality?
My apologies, I don't understand.
Google said stay the fuck out of her business. I feel like I remember people saying that she was bisexual. I have some feelings about gender reveal parties. I will say that I mostly don't care. I think that having so many parties for a baby is kind of like a lot. To me, that seems like a lot. So I don't personally get it. These are some very passionately posted things, so let's go over them. So starts out saying gender reveals transphobic. Oh, why gender reveals are transphobic. Graphic design is my passion.
It's both insincere and incorrect to pretend that gender reveal parties are not transphobic. You can't have your proverbial pink-blue binary cake and eat it too. This is not political correctness, it's just correct. We condemn gender reveals not because of our identity, but because of reality. Transphobia is not about prejudice against individual trans people. It's also a way of thinking that understands non-trans people as more natural/organic and erases everyone else. These ideas, like the gender binary, fuel mistreatment of all people, but especially trans and gender non-conforming people. Gender reveals are based on the illusion that genitalia equals gender and that there are only two options, boy or girl. This definition erases the fact that there are boys with vaginas and girls with penises, and that there are people who are neither boys nor girls. The idea that sex is based on genitalia is inconsistent with science. Gender reveals require not just the invalidation of transness, but the impossibility of transness. The assumption is that the baby is cis. Cisness is positioned as the default and everyone else is understood as derivative. The idea goes, while we might identify as trans now, we were originally born cis and we later became trans. When in truth everyone is born and we all become after the fact. Even though we might have grown accustomed to other people gendering us, that doesn't make it right. Only individuals can determine gender. Gender reveals uphold the gender binary, and the binary prevents people from observing reality. Instead, it offers culturally and historically determined norms. For example, pink used to be considered a masculine color, as personhood. People are taught to experience themselves and one another as ideas of how they should be, not the reality of what they are and what is.
This is long.
The gender binary requires that we adopt prescriptive ideas of gender, what men and women should be, and descriptive ideas of gender, what men and women fundamentally are. In this way, it naturalizes cultural myths as biological facts. The irony is that this is so long. The irony is that trans and gender nonconforming people are accused of advancing a gender ideology when in fact we are trying to escape it. The real ideology at play is a system that romanticizes the denial and individuality in the service of maintaining category.
Oh, and I think that's it. So I have thoughts on this. So this was actually originally by Alec V. Merman, I believe is the way to say the name, who is an activist who I believe is non-binary. We've talked about them before on this channel in another video that I've done. But I've got some thoughts and feelings about this, right? So you guys know that I can only really speak from my own perspective as a trans woman, and so I will do that. Personally, I don't have a massive issue with gender reveal parties. I really don't. Most people who have a penis will be men when they grow up. Most girls who have vaginas will be women when they grow up. That to me is not a terribly shocking fact. That being said, I do think that it is worth examining the ideas behind the party. Because oftentimes what you do at a gender reveal party is not just project gender, but also this whole idea of who this person is supposed to be when they grow up. And for me, what I have personally had a hard time with my own family is that my parents adopted, what they thought were two young boys, right? And so they had all of this expectation for raising young men. And when I started to recognize myself and see my gender more clearly, I had a very, very hard time reconciling my desire to be myself with my desire to be favored by my parents because of the narrative that they chose for me before I was old enough to understand that that's what happened. And for me, it's of course worsened by the fact that I'm adopted, and my parents definitely deliberately chose to raise two young boys. And that turned out not to be the case. Some of you guys already know my story, but when I came out to my parents as trans, I had already been living full time for years because I was so afraid of disturbing that narrative that they had for me. They had already let go of certain things, but I think it's been very, very hard for them to fully let go of me being this man that they imagined me as when I was a child. They really probably did imagine that I would grow up to be the complete opposite of what I am right now. And obviously, since I'm adopted, disappointing my parents is it's a really upsetting thing for me because they're the only parents that I know. I lived a lot of my life for a really long time not being honest with myself, let alone the people around me, because I wanted to be loved by them. And let's just say if my parents threw a gender reveal party for me, let's say that my parents are my birth parents and they threw a gender reveal party for me. I don't think that as a trans adult, I personally would care that much about the fact that they threw a gender reveal party. I would probably care more, well, I do care more, if when I revealed my gender to them, they didn't want to party about it. Do you know what I mean? I think parents who are already throwing a party for their kid, that's a good foundation. I want for them to be able to throw a party for their kid regardless of what their gender is. I have been enjoying this thing that some people have done where they throw a gender reveal party, but they throw it just to sort of say that their gender is yet to be determined, because I do think that that does encourage people to think a bit differently about gender, because I know that a lot, like when you see kids who were raised without the pressure to be neither here nor there, I think that they are demonstrably more self-assured, happy people. I think every person who has parents probably knows the specific stress of trying to live up to what your parents wanted you to be. But trans people often have to live through that in a very dramatically different way. We are often uprooting these ideas of who we are that were set in stone from birth and replacing it with something that is so radically different. With age, I learned that my parents were not prepared to have a child like me. My parents did not have the resources or the understanding to even get what was going on in my life. And so I have been enjoying seeing parents be more thoughtful about this. I do think that if you are a parent who is thoughtful about the kind of negative impression that you projecting your narrative of the gender of your child on, if you're worried about that sort of thing, I do maybe agree that maybe not having a gender reveal party is a great idea. I think a gender reveal party is probably fine for most people though. I think most people will probably have a gender reveal party and it won't be a really big deal, I care more about how people will accept their transgender children. I care more about how people will embrace their trans kid, because let me tell you, I got into a lot of stuff because my parents were not embracing of me. If I had the love, the unconditional love, the full love that a parent would have for their child, for the gender of their child, my life would have been so different. I would have had a very, 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 very different experience with so much in my life if my parents were more accepting of me. I'm really curious what you guys have to say about gender reveal parties. If you agree with Demi Lovato's reposting of Alec V. Merman's post, I don't know. I guess it's just like, I don't sit around and think about how terrible gender reveal parties are, aside from the fact that like they keep causing fires, I guess, you know? But I don't know, to me it doesn't, I think that if my parents threw a gender reveal party for me when I was a kid, and then, you know, were accepting of me when I came out to them as trans, I think it would have been a-okay for me, I guess. I do agree with, you know, maybe this idea that projecting gender on a kid is unhelpful, but I don't really know if we need to do away with gender reveal parties. Maybe I'm not woke enough, I don't know. I guess I'm a bit sensitive to this idea of let's get rid of this thing that is fine for most people, but not fine for the few that it is. I think that, you know, we should throw a party, you know, when the kid gets old enough to know their gender, and we could reveal it there and have a whole party about that. You know, maybe that should be the tradition. But I would love to hear what you guys have to say about this, what your opinions are, what your thoughts are. I know you guys will leave some really, really great comments, and I am really looking forward to reading through all of them. So yeah. And just for the heck of it, if you made it through this entire video, please put this in the comment box below. All of the coolest, sexiest, hottest people that are cool for the summer would put the emoji in the comment box. I'm just saying. Anyway, I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye.